So, good day. We're learning Igeres HaKodesh. We're in the middle of chapter 4, which is on page Kuf Hey, opposite 208. And we are at the bottom of the page, the last two lines, right? Yeah. So the Alter Rebbe here is explaining the importance of tzedakah, of giving tzedakah in regard to geula. And he hasn't yet dealt with that issue, but that's the way the Igeres, the letter starts. Ein Yisrael Nigolin, this is a quote from the Chazal, the Yidden, Jews, are not liberated from golus, from exile, ela b'tzedakah, only in the merit of giving tzedakah. So let's see. And the Alter Rebbe explains that it's necessary to look for the Pnimius, quoting the verse in the David Hashem Moiri, Bakshu Ponai, Hashem says, I want you to search for my face. And Ponai doesn't mean just literally a face, countenance. The face is demonstrative of what's going on inside. If a person feels good inside, you could tell it on the face. If they feel crummy inside, bad, you can also feel it on the outside, on the face. That's why I mentioned it's important to, as much as possible, to show a happy face, a smiling face, a good face, even when you're not feeling great about yourself, or the situation is a difficult situation, whatever it is. Now that's not, Pnimius, Baruch. You'll say, I'm a Pnimi, and if I feel upset, why should I lie to the world about the way I feel? I want to be honest. And you know what the answer to that is? Just because you're having a bad day, why should everyone else around you have a bad day? The fact is that perception is reality, right? So you might be feeling so good inside, but yet your facial appearance points to being upset, being angry, being depressed. So everyone around you perceives you as a depressed now, angry, upset. And in truth, it's not that way. So this is a balance. What we're discussing this at this moment, this is a balance. The balance between Avram, the balance between the real you at that moment and technically the fake you. And I'll tell you something, I've experienced this, not once, but many times. And it's a hard avodah. It's not an easy avodah, it's not an easy service, because you're balancing what you consider to be truthful, yourself, right, who you are, and not wanting others who have no connection in a way, who just observe you, and they come away with a conclusion which could be completely erroneous. And guess who caused that? You did. So the Alter Rebbe here and in other places in Tanya tells us that we need to combine the two. We need to, on one hand, look for the Pnimius, live with the Pnimius. Don't be a superficial person. Most people, if I may say so, are superficial. Chabad Hasidus spends pages upon pages, years upon years, to get a person to look for Pnimius, to be more Pnimi, inward. But simultaneously, it should come across with a brightness, a happiness, a healthiness. So when someone sees you, last night, I don't know if you saw the 2 shorts that I made. After Mincha, I went to daven Mincha at a shul here, and it was quite late. And I heard music from a chuppah coming from the outside. So after Mincha, I went outside, because there's a hall right next door, and there was a chuppah, and there was a singer singing so beautifully Hasidic tunes that are used at a chuppah, and it just moved my heart. It stirred my soul. And I just went and parked myself against a car on the street. I wasn't even facing the chuppah. And I just stood there like this, and listening, and taking it in. And then I'm saying to myself, thinking, it's Chodesh Elul. Where am I? And the music gets more intense and more passionate and more soul-stirring. I stood there for 10, 15 minutes. I took a few clips just to share it with people. But I'll tell you something, it was so therapeutic. It was really moving. I'm back to myself today. But for those 10, 15 minutes, I was elsewhere. I don't mean, that I had Aliyas HaNeshama like the Baal Shem Tov, And here we have our local musician, Moshe Myers, talking. I'm talking about music, Moshe. I'm talking about the chuppah music that I heard last night. So here, if someone were to look at me at that time, Baruch, what would he see? He would see me standing like this and just leaning back on the car. It's already dark outside. There's music. Music meaning solemn music, meditative music, soul-stirring music to get the chuppah, in the chuppah mood. This is a serious time for the chassan and kal and the parents and grandparents and all the people who came to participate, right? So there's a difference between looking serious and thoughtful and mindful versus looking depressed. Now, I'm not going to tell you there isn't anyone that will conclude Rabbi Dalfin at that time was depressed. Yeah, you'll have some, fools who will make that conclusion. But most intelligent people who are sincere in their observation will see the difference between seriousness, mindfulness that's within God's desire of a Jew during the month of Elul and other times, versus depression and anger and melancholy. So therefore, what the Alter Rebbe says here is not only not a contradiction, it's actually an aid. The way to get to the deepest feelings of connecting Baruch to Hashem is through Pnimius. The temporary gratifications in life, from the basic issues of basic needs of eating and sleeping and other basics, are not yet Pnimius. Those are necessary tools and life skills to survive. Pnimius is not satisfied with survival. Pnimius wants a Jew to thrive, not just survive. How do you thrive? When you look for Pnimius, live with Pnimius, teach Pnimius, Now, at a certain point, there's no, teaching Pnimius. It is. When you encounter that experience, there's no how should I? It reminds me what Zalman Schachter told me. when he was in yeshiva in the 1940s, and he was learning Hasidus and understanding Hasidus and saw Hasidim, and they talk about davening barichas, davening at length, and they just spoke about the issue, but they never said, this is what you should do, A, B, C, D. So at one Farbrengen, Zalman said to some of the elder Mashpiyim, who were much older than him, and they were students in Lubavitch by the Rashab, and he said, so you talk about Pnimius, and you talk about davening at length, but you never showed us, he's talking about him and his friends in Yeshiva in 770, how to do it. Wow. He had the chutzpah to question the elders in public. And guess what? They all knew that he was right. But for whatever reason, most of them chose not to answer his question, or some didn't have an answer. But they turned to one gentleman, Reb Avram Paris was his name. And they said, Reb Avram, you tell him. And he wasn't an official mashpia or Rosh Hashiva in the yeshiva. And Avram took them through, from Hoidu till Shmon Esrei, what you should meditate on as you go through davening. And when he came to Shmon Esrei, he says, from here, I can't any longer. Why can't I? He didn't say why he can't, but everyone understood, including Schechter. Because from here, the Amida is silence. Here, it's so deep and it's so silent that it is. Here, it's beyond instruction. Think about this at this bracha, do this at this bracha. That's all chitzonius, outward, in comparison to just being. Superficial. But again, Yoini, it's not a gross superficiality. You're in middle of Shemona Esrei. And what you're asking is for guidance of what should I think about at this particular bracha. So it's not like you're looking to eat ice cream with 75 different flavors. Okay? You're not doing that. You're davening. And you want to daven properly. And it's important. But nevertheless, Rabbi Avram cannot tell Schechter anymore. Why? Because the level of Shmon Esrei is beyond description. The silence, Amida. It's not just silent because we say it in a low voice to ourselves. It's silent because you've reached the pinnacle of the davening experience where no words and no description are adequate, are able to express what is going on. So that's the ultimate of Pnimius. But believe me, we have a long way to go before we get there. So let us continue now. And I think what we spoke about till now, even though it was kind of off topic, is a very important piece of information to share with others for this month and the month of Tishrei, the Chabad motto of Pnimius. Let's continue now at the bottom of page Kufay, the second line from the bottom after the dot. This level of Pnimius Alev, the Alter Rebbe uses the words, you need a schus, you need a merit. And why is it that not every person merits to this level, to have the service of the heart from the depth of the heart? Pnimius, we're on top now, page 210. In a way of Pnimius, Hainu, the Alter Rebbe says, I'll tell you why. You want to know why? Lefi shepchinazu he etzlai bepchinas golus v'shivya. You know why? Because this level of Pnimius by you is in golus, is in exile. It's captured. So what do you expect? It can't express itself. Let's see what he says. V'hi b'chines golus hashchina mamish. We talk about the exile of the Shechina, of the divine presence of Hashem. Says the Alter Rebbe, when your heart is in golus, jaded, clogged, it's not only that you're in golus, God is with you in golus. So the God within you can't express itself. Let's continue. Ki he, again, using the words twice, he. It. Ki he. Pchinas nitzutz elikus. This level of Pnimius is also referred to, or it is, as the godly spark shebanafshe elikis, in your godly soul. And it is in golus. It's captive, it's captured, so it can't unleash itself. The question is why, says the Alter Rebbe further, V'sibas ha'golus, the reason for this exile, Humaimer Azal, it's the saying of our sages, Golu leBavel. When the Jews were exiled to Babylon, to Bavel, Shechina Imohem, the Shechina went along and also became exiled. It's not as though God is free, metaphorically speaking, and we are in Golus. No. If we are in Golus, Menashe, Golu leBavel, Shechina Imohem, we need to know this. This is a consolation. Not a happy consolation, but it's a consolation that Hashem is with us in Golus. Hold on, I gotta close the window. Let's continue. Okay. Hainu, mipnei, shehilbish, pchinis, pnimis, nekudas levavai, bezelu mazeh. Because the Jew took his pnimius, his inner heart, and put it into negative stuff, one opposite the other, negativity opposite the Kedusha, the Hainu. The Alter Rebbe tells us in detail, in graphic detail, Belevushim Tzoyim, we inserted our Pnimius into filthy garments, schmutz, the Mila d'Alma of worldly matters. Must I tell you more? Pleasures of life are called Mila d'Alma and Levushim Tzoyim. Physical, material, Gashmias on its own is neutrality, as we discussed many times. But the abuse of it, the indulgence in the Gashmias is Levushim Tzoyim. And we take our Pnimius on the Shama, and it is captured by those indulgences. Let's continue. The Taivas Elam Hazeh, and indulgences of the physical world, Taivas. Hanikra b'shem Bavel. Right? It's called Bavel. Bavel. You think Iraq, Bavel is over there. No. Iraq is right here in Bet Shemesh, in Borough Park. You know when? When we act like Iraq, we are in Iraq. We are in Bavel. V'hi pchinas orlo. Now the Alter Rebbe introduces another concept, but it's the same idea. This is the foreskin, hamechase ala Bris, that covers the Bris, the covenant, the holy covenant, the holy Bris, that a Jewish child at the age of 8 days old has a bris, a ritual circumcision, represents the bond, the connection, the Jewish neshama. And when we immerse ourselves in pleasures of the physical world, in indulgences, we cover up the holy bris. V'nikudis ha'pnimius shebelev, and we cover up the holy point of the Pnimius of the heart. V'al zeh nemar umaltem, and the Torah says, you shall circumcise as orlas levavchem, the foreskin, the cover-up of your heart. What does that mean? The heart wants to act with Pnimius. There's a cover. There's the bris, the covenant, the holy bris of a Jewish male, of a Jewish child. There's foreskin on the bris. If it's not cut away, etc., then we have a bris that's been covered by foreskin. Umaltem, the Torah says, you shall circumcise as orlas, the foreskin, levavchem, in your heart. Hine b'mila yesh shnei pchinas, says the Alter Rebbe, to elucidate this idea further regarding circumcision. There are two levels. Mila, circumcision, it's called mila in Hebrew. Upriya. Priya means the removal of the foreskin. Shehein orla gaso v'klipa daka. Orla gasa means a thick cover, a thick membrane. That would be the part that you need to remove. And then we have klipa daka, a thin husk and shell. So too in the moral, so too when it comes to circumcising the heart from the cover-up, yesh gamkein, there is taibas gasos, there are coarse indulgences, and there are also dakos, refined, thin, like indulgences, taibas. Mila upriya. So there's two things. There's mila, to cut away the thick, the heavy cover, the foreskin, which is the gross, coarse indulgences. And then there is the thin layer that still remains. Let's see what he says. He says, Umol b'loi pora. What if someone just circumcises, cuts, but doesn't do the removal of the foreskin? Ki'ilu, the law is, this is a halacha, le'imol. You didn't circumcise. Wow, but I did. The circumcision is not valid unless there is mila and priya. The cut, the circumcision, and the removal of foreskin. Mipnei, why is that? Shesoif adayin nekudas pnimius aleif imechusa b'levush sak. Because the end, if you just circumcise and you don't remove the foreskin, the inner heart, Pnimius alev, is still covered with a levush sak, with a garment, with a sack. Rak b'bchinas golos v'shivya. And it is only in a way of exile and captivity. In other words, it's still captured. So the Alter Rebbe is saying over here the importance of doing both. Hine al milas ha'orlo mamish. When it comes to circumcising the orlo, in actuality, ksiv, it says, Umaltem mesoras levavchem, you yourself have to circumcise the thick, coarse foreskin on your heart. Atem be'atzmechem, you yourselves. What about the remnant that's left over? The easy klipa. This is difficult for man to do himself. And this is what it says, that during Bebias Mashiach, during the time of Mashiach, when Mashiach will come, Umal Hashem Elokecha es levavcha. Hashem, God, your God, He will circumcise yourself. He will circumcise you, meaning at that time, during the Messianic experience, Hashem will do us a great favor and remove even the thin, lighter-like indulgences from our heart. But the coarse ones, Avram, no way, Jose, you gotta do it yourself. Umaltem es orlas levavchem. You shall circumcise. Don't give me any baloney. You're indulging. You can work on not indulging in a coarse way. To tell you that you're going to have no urges, no. When Mashiach will come, God, vis-a-vis Mashiach experience, will remove those urges. Hashem will remove the lightweight cover up. So for you to have love to Hashem, with all your heart, quiet. I'm sorry. With all your soul, leman chayecha, so that you should have life. Kloimar, leman ki Hashem levadei hu kol chayecha mamish. To feel that Hashem is your entire life. Chevra, we will continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Have a great day. Sudas Toivas to everyone. Bye-bye. You're welcome.